you had predicted going into the weekend there, Rudy?
Yeah, I mean, that was my picks. Did I have any money on it? No. Did I place any bets? No. Did I think that's how it was going to go? I did. I would also say that I'm not one of those haters that wants to quote unquote see somebody new. I would have loved to see Josh Allen and the Bills get an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl and possibly win, but I also think it's incredibly awesome to watch the history and the greatness of the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and his teammates. I think it's incredible what they're doing.
Were you surprised that the Eagles blew them out, the Commanders?
That's a tough question. I think that I've been very surprised all year long with how well Jaden Daniels has played, with how consistent that he's played. I think he's just really been incredible. And I think obviously he's going to have an incredible future. Did I think that at some point it would catch up to him, and at some point him being a rookie and not having the experience and all of that, thought it would catch up at some point? Yeah. Did I think that they were going to get blown out like they did? No, I can't say that.
Well, I think when you turn the football over 4 times, it's very difficult for anybody to come off of that. And this team was, the Eagles, 7 for 7 in the red zone. So just trying to combat that. But I really thought Jaden Daniels, when watching him in the game, I thought he handled himself well, made some key completions. We only lost the one football per se. But, overall, this kid really, really shined throughout the biggest moments of his young rookie career.
Yeah, I think that's true. He's really, really played. I think Vic Fangio said, he's young, just according to, his birth certificate, and just what the program, the game day program says, the amount of years he's played in the NFL. He's young that way, but when you watch his tape, he's played incredible. Whether it's just been first and second down and staying ahead of the chains, whether it's been his plan and the way he's executed on third down and every third down situation, whether it's how he's handled the different blitzes and pressures that have been thrown his way, he's done incredible. The anticipation, the accuracy, the timing, the ability to throw wide receivers open, the decision making on when to use his legs and when not to. I just think in every single capacity of a football game, I think that Jaden Daniels has been incredible, all year long. And if he can continue to play the way that he did this year, he's going to be another guy that we're talking about as an all-time great.
And then on the other side, and watching Patrick Mahomes, and by the way, I agree with you. I love watching the Chiefs, going way back to the Steelers or the Patriots or the 49ers, et cetera. So they're kind of the quasi-dynasties, if all dynasties continue on. But when you watch Patrick Mahomes, Rudy, just year in, year out, staying the course with different receivers, not so much different tight ends, but the commonality is how much on the same page he is with his head coach and Andy Reid.
Yeah. You said it right there. That whole organization has done a great job. I think people forget, Patrick Mahomes was playing on a Texas Tech football team every year that he was there, that they were a 500 record. He had a lot of interceptions in college, and people would knock that as well. But when you go back and watch, the vast majority of those interceptions weren't bad throws or bad decisions. They were throws that he had to make in desperation just to try to give his team a chance to win a football game. but it goes all the way back to their scouting department and their front office. I mean, you take Patrick Mahomes, wherever they took him, 15th in the draft, or, whatever it is. Just put it this way, it wasn't first, and he'd be the first pick now in every draft moving forward, right? So, they were able to have the foresight on Patrick Mahomes to take him in the draft. I believe Travis Kelce was a 4th-round pick for them. That's become, definitely a Hall of Fame type guy, right? If you look, throughout their roster, they have guys splattered all over that roster of guys that weren't really the most coveted players in that year's draft class. And so they've proven to be able to do an amazing job on the scouting side and the draft side. And then Andy Reid and his team and his defensive coaching staff, they have also been able to continue on and be able to use those players and put those guys in the best possible position to succeed. One more thing before I get too long-winded. I think that one of the things that Andy Reid has done a great job of that people don't talk about enough is when you have the success that the Chiefs have had and that Andy Reid has had, especially on the offensive side of the football, you're going to get your coaching staff. Guys are going to, other organizations, other teams are going to come after those coaches and try to hire them away from that current team, in this case being Kansas City. And Andy Reid has been able to do an unbelievable job of just constantly replacing that quarterback coach, constantly replacing that offensive coordinator, constantly replacing whoever it's been that have been in and out of that locker room and in and out of those meeting rooms. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's actually a very difficult thing to do. And Andy has done an incredible job with things changing around him and changing around that team and organization, but at the same time, keeping everything the same and keeping the continuity there, which has really allowed Patrick Mahomes to flourish in his development.
Rudy Carpenter is our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. Rudy, when you go back now and you look at the recent Super Bowl teams, the common denominator is every team had a stud quarterback. So if you are going to retool your team, you definitely have to begin there. But is your second option then putting together a sound offensive line to protect that stud quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody knows that the quarterback you're only going to go as far as your quarterback. And look, I believe that. Of course, you can look at, the Trent Dilfer era, Baltimore Ravens and say, well, maybe you get around it. But in my viewpoint, there's no question that quarterback is the most important piece. He's the most important guy on the roster. But with that being said, myself, if I was a GM and I was building a team, without a shadow of a doubt, I mean, the most important things to me is building in your offensive and defensive line. I just think that, the things that you need in order to have a winning football team and organization that's going to be able to consistently win year in and year out, to me, you're only going to be able to do that if you have a very, very, very good offensive and defensive line. If you can protect the passer, if you can keep that guy on his feet, if you can allow that guy to stand back there and throw the football, which is what you're paying him all that money to do, it's going to make life easier. But on the flip side, if you can have a defensive line that can just ruin games, that can get after the quarterback, get him off his spot, disrupt his timing, disrupt his accuracy, disrupt his ability to play the football game and execute the way they want to, it's just incredible. The hard part with that is that you have a lot of these general managers who are trying to build these teams. And when you're building these teams, it's a business. So you're trying to sell tickets. You're trying to get butts in the seats. I mean, at the end of the day, we know that's, what it's about. And unfortunately, so many of the media members and the fan bases, they want to see sexy picks. They want to see fast wide receivers. They want to see great cover guys. They want to see all of the skill positions. And unfortunately, when you're a GM and you seem to take, offensive guard in the first round, or a defensive tackle in the first round, or an offensive center in the second round, or another defensive tackle in the second round, and then another defensive end in the first round, and an offensive tackle in the first round, fans get antsy. They get angry. They want to see the skill. But in my viewpoint, in today's era, and Dan, as you see, all of these skill guys are getting training. They're getting work, and everything is about skill development. Very, very rarely do you see offensive and defensive line training. You can go to million parks here and in the weekends and weekdays, and you'll see quarterback coaches, receiver coaches, defensive back coaches, and you rarely see offensive line coaches. And so those guys are just so hard to find. So if I was building a team, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm building that team from the inside out.
He's Rudy Carpenter. As always, great stuff, buddy. Appreciate you. Next week, we'll get your prediction in the game.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Rudy Carpenter joining us here on Rock and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620. He is brought to you today by All City Towing. Join the team at the largest towing company in the state. And, of course, that's All City Towing. They have positions across the board. So if you're ready to take your career to the next level in 2025, the time is now. So visit them online at allcitytowing.com. That's All City Towing, where your future is on the move. So is it time to give Jalen Hurts his respect? I'm going to give you numbers that prove that you should give him the respect that's due. That's coming up. It's Rock and Manuch, Jimmy.